A group of aggressive bikers at a California gas station picked the wrong target when they harassed an elegant older woman, completely unaware that she was Sonya Curry, the mother of NBA superstar Steph Curry. What happened next left everyone speechless. It was a bright California morning, the kind of day where the sun shone warmly and the breeze carried just a hint of crispness. Steph Curry, the basketball superstar, was driving his sleek black sports car along the open road. Beside him sat his elegant mother, Sonya Curry, both dressed impeccably for the charity gala they were headed to. The air inside the car was filled with excitement as they chatted about the event. "You know, Steph," Sonya said with a soft smile, "this gala is going to make such a difference for those families. It's heartwarming to see so many people come together for a good cause." Steph glanced over, his hands steady on the wheel. "You're right, Mom. It's amazing how a little help can go such a long way. Plus, it's always great to meet others who are just as passionate about giving back." As they drove, the GPS suddenly beeped, flashing a red warning of heavy traffic ahead. Steph frowned slightly, glancing at the map. The highway was jammed, with miles of congestion standing between them and their destination. Sonya leaned in, scanning the screen. "What's the alternative?" Steph's finger traced a route on the map. "We can take the scenic route. It's a little more remote, but it'll save us time. Plus, it's a prettier drive." Sonya nodded. "Sounds like a plan. Let's go for it." Switching lanes smoothly, Steph exited the highway and began winding through quieter roads. The hustle of the city faded behind them, as the landscape transformed into rolling hills and rugged terrain. The open road stretched ahead, and for a while, the drive felt like a peaceful escape from the chaos of their busy lives. But as the miles passed, Steph noticed the fuel gauge dipping lower than he was comfortable with. "We're going to need to find a gas station soon," he said, his voice calm but serious. Sonya gave him a reassuring glance. "Don't worry, there's bound to be one around here somewhere." Their search for a gas station didn't take long. A small, weathered sign on the side of the road pointed them toward a station just ahead. As they pulled in, the scene immediately felt different from the modern, bustling stations they were used to. The pumps stood like relics from another era, their paint faded and peeling. A cracked concrete forecourt hinted at years of wear, and the small convenience store attached to the station looked just as time-worn. Steph parked the car near one of the pumps, stepping out to refuel. The station was quiet, with only a couple of motorcycles parked near the entrance. He glanced around, sensing the solitude of the place. Sonya, ever composed, grabbed her purse and prepared to head inside to pay and pick up some drinks. "I'll be right back," she said, her voice steady as she moved toward the store. Steph nodded, focusing on the pump as the car began to refuel. But as Sonya approached the entrance, a flicker of unease passed through him. Two bikers lounged near the doorway, their eyes fixed on his mother with an intensity that made his instincts sharpen. The peaceful morning suddenly felt heavier, the air charged with a tension Steph couldn't quite place. Something was off, and as Sonya disappeared into the store, he found himself glancing toward the entrance, his focus narrowing. Unbeknownst to Steph, what started as an ordinary stop would soon take a dramatic turn, leaving everyone involved changed forever. The quiet atmosphere of the remote gas station was shattered as a group of three bikers loitering near the store entrance turned their attention toward Sonya Curry. Their motorcycles gleamed in the morning sun, a stark contrast to their rough appearance, leather jackets, patches, and expressions that seemed to dare anyone to challenge them. Sonya, poised and elegant as always, moved toward the store entrance. She had dealt with her fair share of challenging situations before, but as their eyes followed her, she couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that their focus wasn't casual. "Hey there, lady," one of them called out, his voice loud and mocking. The leader of the group, a burly man with a thick beard and a smirk that hinted at trouble, leaned against his motorcycle. "You lost, or are you just slumming it today?" Sonya ignored the comment, keeping her eyes ahead and her stride steady. She knew better than to engage, especially in a remote place like this. Her confidence was unwavering, but the unease in the pit of her stomach grew stronger as she passed them. Another biker, leaner but just as intimidating, let out a low whistle. "Hey, rich lady, where's the fancy car from? Or maybe you're just here to give us a handout." The mocking laughter of the group echoed behind her, but Sonya didn't flinch. She reached the door of the store and stepped inside, hoping the encounter would end there. Inside, the store was small and quiet, the air cool and still. Sonya headed to the cooler, selecting a couple of drinks for the road. She kept her movements calm and purposeful, not wanting to show any sign of discomfort. But as she turned toward the counter, she noticed the reflection in the glass door. The bikers hadn't stayed outside. They were lingering near the entrance, their eyes fixed on her, like a pack circling its prey. Sonya took a steadying breath, reminding herself to stay composed. She approached the counter, her hands clutching the drinks. The cashier, an older man with kind eyes, seemed to pick up on her discomfort. "Don't mind them, Mom," he said in a low voice, as he rang up her items. "They like to act tough, but they're all bark." Sonya gave him a small, polite smile, but the tension didn't ease. As she collected her items and turned to leave, her path was immediately blocked by one of the bikers, the leader. "Were you off to in such a hurry?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Excuse me," Sonya said firmly, her voice calm but resolute. Instead of moving, he smirked and grabbed her arm lightly, as though testing her reaction. "Come on, don't be like that. We're just having a little fun." Sonya's breath caught, but she quickly pulled her arm away. "Let go," she said sharply, her voice cutting through the thick tension. The other bikers circled closer, their laughter making the situation feel even more menacing. "Ooh, feisty," one of them said mockingly. "We like that." Sonya's heart pounded, but she didn't let it show. She stood tall, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing her intimidated. "I don't want any trouble," she said, her tone steady. "Let me pass." The leader leaned closer, his smirk turning darker. "Trouble? Who said anything about trouble? We're just being friendly. Maybe you should loosen up a bit." At that moment, Sonya felt trapped. The bikers had formed a loose circle around her, cutting off her exit. Her composed exterior remained intact, but inside, the fear was starting to take hold. She glanced toward the window, hoping Steph might have noticed the situation, but all she could see was the sleek black car parked near the pump. The leader's grip tightened slightly on her arm, and Sonya's composure began to crack. "I said, let me go," she repeated, her voice rising with urgency. But the bikers only laughed harder, their taunts growing louder and more demeaning. "What are you gonna do about it?" the leader sneered. The tension reached a boiling point as Sonya struggled to free herself. For the first time, a flicker of panic crossed her face. She wasn't alone, but at that moment, she felt isolated, surrounded by a group that seemed determined to intimidate her. Just as the situation seemed to teeter on the edge of something more dangerous, a sharp voice rang out from the direction of the pumps. "Hey!" The sound cut through the bikers' laughter like a knife. All heads turned toward the source of the voice. Standing just outside the car, Steph Curry's tall frame was unmistakable. His expression was calm but serious, his voice carrying a commanding presence. "Let her go," he said, his eyes locked on the leader. The bikers exchanged glances, their laughter faltering. They hadn't expected anyone to intervene, let alone someone like Steph Curry. For the first time, Sonya felt a sense of relief as she met her son's steady gaze. The tables were about to turn, and the bikers would soon realize they had chosen the wrong target. Steph Curry had been refueling the car when he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. Through the gas station's store window, he saw his mother, Sonya, standing tense, her back rigid. Surrounding her were three men, their body language aggressive and mocking. His heart dropped for a moment, but then his instincts kicked in. Leaving the pump behind, he strode toward the store with purpose, his tall frame unmistakable even from a distance. As he approached, the voices of the bikers carried through the air, crude laughter mingling with their taunts. Steph's protective instincts flared. "Hey!" His voice was calm yet commanding, slicing through the bikers' laughter like a sharp blade. The leader, a burly man with a thick beard and leather vest, turned his head toward Steph. His smirk faltered for a second before returning with a sneer. "And who are you supposed to be?" Steph stopped just a few feet away, his posture relaxed but his expression firm. "Let her go," he said, his voice steady. His gaze never wavered from the leaders. The biker holding Sonya's arm loosened his grip, but didn't let go entirely. "What's it to you?" he growled, his tone dripping with defiance. Steph took another step forward, now close enough to see the fear hidden beneath his mother's composed exterior. "That's my mother," he said evenly, his tone carrying both a warning and a quiet determination. "And I'm not going to ask again." The second biker, a weary man with a scar running down his cheek, chuckled darkly. "Oh, look, it's Steph Curry," he said mockingly, pointing a finger at Steph. "What are you gonna do? Shoot a three-pointer at us? This ain't a basketball court, champ." The leader barked a laugh, the others joining in as their confidence surged. "Yeah, big shot," he said, his smirk widening. "Maybe you should stick to the hardwood, and leave the real-world stuff to the grown-ups." Steph's jaw tightened, but he didn't rise to their bait. Instead, he calmly positioned himself between Sonya and the bikers, his towering frame shielding her from further harassment. "I don't care who you are or what you think you're doing," he said, his voice low but filled with unmistakable authority. "This stops now." The leader stepped closer, his smirk turning into a scowl. "Or what?" he challenged, his voice taking on a menacing edge. Steph stood his ground, his calm demeanor unshaken. "Or you're going to regret it," he said simply, his eyes narrowing slightly. The bikers exchanged glances, their bravado momentarily flickering. They weren't used to being confronted so directly, especially by someone who exuded such quiet confidence. But the leader wasn't ready to back down. "You think you can take all of us?" he taunted, cracking his knuckles for emphasis. Steph didn't flinch. "I don't need to," he said, his voice carrying an unspoken challenge. The tension in the air was palpable, the bikers trying to gauge whether Steph's calm confidence was a bluff or something more. The second biker, emboldened by his companions, stepped forward, pointing a finger at Steph's chest. "Listen, pretty boy, you don't scare us. We're not gonna let some pampered celebrity tell us what to do." Before the man could say more, Steph calmly swatted the hand away, his movements deliberate and controlled. "Touch me again," he said quietly, his voice edged with steel, "and you'll regret it." The biker hesitated, his bravado faltering as he caught the look in Steph's eyes. It was a look that said he wasn't bluffing. The leader, sensing the shift, decided to escalate further. He stepped up to Steph, his face inches away, his voice low and threatening. "You don't know who you're messing with." Steph held his ground, unshaken. "And you don't know who you're messing with," he replied, his voice calm but laced with unmistakable conviction. Behind him, Sonya watched in both awe and worry. She could see the determination in her son's eyes, but she also knew the risks. "Steph," she said softly, her voice tinged with concern. Steph glanced back at her, offering a reassuring nod before turning his attention back to the bikers. The standoff seemed to stretch on forever, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. The bikers, their confidence shaken by Steph's unwavering resolve, shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, they seemed to realize that this wasn't going to end the way they had envisioned. Finally, the leader stepped back, throwing up his hands in mock surrender. "Fine," he said with a sneer, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "We were just messing around anyway. No harm, no foul, right?" Steph didn't respond, his eyes locked on the bikers as they slowly backed away toward their motorcycles. His presence alone had diffused the situation, his calm yet commanding demeanor leaving no room for further argument. As the bikers mounted their bikes and roared away, their laughter now hollow and forced, Steph turned back to his mother. "Are you okay?" he asked gently, his voice softening. Sonya nodded, her composure returning. "I am now," she said, her voice steady. "Thanks to you." Steph placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his protective instinct still on high alert. "Let's get out of here," he said. As they walked back to the car, the tension began to dissipate. But in the back of Steph's mind, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't entirely over. Steph Curry stood next to his car, his gaze fixed on the distant figures of the bikers as they rode off. A flicker of recognition crossed his face as he caught sight of the insignia emblazoned on their vests. The design, a distinctive emblem with a bold eagle and crossed flags, jogged a memory. Steph had seen it before, years ago, when he made a significant donation to a veterans motorcycle club focused on helping former service members reintegrate into civilian life. The realization prompted Steph to take action. He turned to his mother, Sonya, who was still recovering from the ordeal. "Mom," he said gently, "I think I know a way to make sure this doesn't happen again, but I need to handle it. Will you be okay for a little while?" Sonya nodded, trusting her son's judgment. "Do what you need to, Steph. Just be careful." Steph got into his car and navigated his way toward the nearest branch of the motorcycle club. His mind raced as he recalled Derek, the club's leader, a decorated veteran with a strong moral compass and a deep commitment to upholding the club's values of respect, honor, and brotherhood. Steph had met Derek during a charity event and was impressed by his dedication to helping fellow veterans find purpose and community. When Steph arrived at the club's headquarters, he found the familiar insignia displayed prominently on the building. He approached the entrance, where a couple of club members stood guard. Recognizing Steph, they greeted him with a mix of curiosity and respect. "I need to speak with Derek," Steph said firmly. Within minutes, Derek appeared, his tall, commanding presence immediately setting the tone. His eyes lit up when he saw Steph. "Steph Curry," he said with a broad smile, extending his hand. "It's been a while. What brings you here?" Steph wasted no time explaining the situation, recounting the harassment his mother faced and the biker's aggressive behavior. Derek's expression darkened as he listened, his jaw tightening. "That's not what this club stands for," Derek said, his voice low but filled with resolve. "We have a code, and actions like that violate everything we believe in." He immediately summoned the three bikers to the clubhouse. When they arrived, their expressions shifted from defiance to unease upon seeing Steph and Derek standing side by side. "Do you have any idea who this man is?" Derek demanded, his voice sharp and authoritative. "Steph Curry has been a supporter of this club, helping us when we needed it most." And you repaid that by harassing his mother, an elderly woman. The biker stammered, offering weak excuses, but Derek wasn't having it. Enough, he snapped. You've embarrassed this club and tarnished our reputation. We don't tolerate this kind of behavior. Derek turned to the other club members, who had gathered to witness the confrontation. As of today, these three are no longer part of this organization, he announced, his voice echoing through the room. We uphold respect, honor, and brotherhood. They've shown they don't belong here. The bikers were forced to remove their vests and insignias, their faces pale with shame. They left the clubhouse silently, their bravado completely gone. Derek turned back to Steph, his expression softening. I'm deeply sorry this happened, Steph. And even more so that it involved your mother. I'll personally make sure this doesn't happen again. Steph nodded, gratitude in his eyes. Thank you, Derek. I knew you'd do the right thing. As Steph left the clubhouse, he felt a sense of closure. The situation had been resolved not just with words, but with accountability and action. More importantly, the bikers had learned a hard lesson about respect and the consequences of their choices. As the dust settled and the tension of the day began to ease, Steph and Sonya Curry found themselves sitting quietly in the car outside the motorcycle club. The earlier events still lingered in their minds, but a sense of resolution now replaced the fear and uncertainty. Sonya reached over, gently placing her hand on Steph's. Thank you, she said softly, her voice filled with both relief and pride. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in. You handled everything with such calm and courage. Steph turned to look at her, his expression a mixture of humility and determination. You've always taught me to stand up for what's right, Mom, he said, and I couldn't just stand by and let anyone treat you, or anyone else, like that. Sonya smiled, her eyes shimmering with gratitude. It's moments like these that remind me what a good man you've become, Steph. You didn't just protect me, you upheld the values we've always believed in, kindness, respect, and doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Steph nodded, gazing out the window at the quiet road stretching ahead. It's about more than just us, though. People like Derek and his club show how important it is to create a community where people feel supported and valued. What happened today could have gone differently if we didn't have those connections. The warmth of the late afternoon sun bathed the car in golden light. As the weight of the day began to lift, Sonya leaned back in her seat, a small, reflective smile on her face. You know, this reminds me why we've always focused on giving back, she said, because when you invest in others, you create a ripple effect that goes far beyond what you can see. Steph's expression softened, a renewed sense of purpose lighting his features. You're right, Mom, he agreed. It's not just about helping people in big, obvious ways. It's about standing up in the small moments, too, when no one's watching, or when it's uncomfortable. Those are the times that really matter. As they prepared to leave, Sonya reached into her purse and pulled out a small notebook. Flipping through its pages, she stopped and handed it to Steph. Inside was a list of the organizations and individuals they had supported over the years, a testament to their ongoing commitment to making a difference. Let's keep doing this, she said, her voice steady with resolve. Together. Steph smiled as he glanced at the list, the weight of the day transforming into a sense of fulfillment. Absolutely, he said, placing the notebook carefully on the dashboard. As the Curry family drove away, the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the quiet California countryside. The events of the day had been unexpected and intense, but they left behind a powerful reminder of the importance of respect, community, and compassion. In their hearts, Steph and Sonya carried a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that even in the most challenging moments, standing up for what's right could make all the difference.